comments during the session, feel free to pop them in the chat or just unmute yourself and ask away. Anyway, Braden's here. I'll hand it over to Braden. Thank you, everybody.
Good morning, everybody. Sorry, my camera's not working at the moment. I'm Braden Calcroft. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm a Noongar man from WA in my second year as a scholar with Pinnacle, sorry. In the spirit of reconciliation, the Pinnacle Foundation acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea, and community. We pay our respect to their elders past, present, and emerging, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islanders people here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Braden. And now I'm going to pass over to Sean Linkson, who is one of the founding patrons of the Pinnacle Foundation, to talk through and welcome us to the induction weekend.
I better turn off my unmute. There we go. Can everyone hear me okay? Thumbs up. Yep, great. Well, thank you, Braden, for that lovely, beautiful acknowledgement of country. And thank you, Paula, for the introduction. And I just wouldn't mind adding to that, if I may. I am coming to you from the Illawarra region of South Sydney. This is a beautiful part of the world where the land meets the sea and belongs to the Wadi Wadi people, who are part of the Dharawal Nation. And I too would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land that I'm on, and also as well the traditional custodians of where you are all sitting today, and pay my respects to the elders past, present and emerging. And with that said, good morning to everybody and welcome to the 2023 Pinnacle Foundation Induction Weekend. And congratulations to all of the Pinnacle scholars who are here today. Getting here has been an extraordinary thing, and it's monumentally exciting to have you all here joining us today. The induction weekend is my favourite Pinnacle event of all, and I've participated in every single one since we started these, probably about 10 or 11 years ago. They are certainly one of the most rewarding things in my life that I witness, and I'm so delighted and pleased to have so many of you here today. Now, I recognise that to be a part of this, you've all proven to be remarkable human beings. You've been through a rigorous selection process that started last year. You were among in excess of 200 applicants that convinced our selection panels that there was a spark, that there was something in you, that there were qualities that made us confident that you were worth backing. And in our eyes, that means you had the potential that we knew could be fulfilled. And that's why you're sitting here today. So congratulations. It's a wonderful thing to see, and I hope you get extraordinary benefits from this, really your first day as a member of the Pinnacle Foundation. This year is without doubt the biggest year of scholarship issuances, if that's a word. I think around 80, if I'm not wrong, Andrew, 88 or something like that scholarships issued this year, which is extraordinary. That's new and returning scholars. And I know you come from every part of Australia, every corner of this land, from all sorts of backgrounds, and studying so many different sorts of disciplines as well. And you are every colour of the gender and sexuality rainbow being represented here today. And I can't tell you what a privilege it is for me to be in your company. So thank you again. Now, I better tell you who the hell I am. My name is Sean Linkson, and I am one of the 4 founders of the Pinnacle Foundation, along with Susan Brooks, one of the most remarkable women I've ever met in my entire life, the dear and beloved friend Paul Clark, and my hubby. He wasn't a hubby when we started this, Philip Comans. So we started this well over 14 years ago when we got together to work out a way of helping the next generation of LGBTIQ plus people who are finding it hard to make their way in a world where discrimination and stigma were barriers to fulfilling the dreams and aspirations that we all have. And it was this inequality and the injustices that we had all grown up with that made us want to do something like the Pinnacle Foundation, so that people didn't have to go through what we went through when we were growing up and making our way through the world. And for that reason, one of the things I want to do today is to provide a little bit of history about the Pinnacle Foundation, how and why we came to be, and why it's so important to have an organisation like the Pinnacle Foundation in Australia. Now, pardon me, it started way back in October 2005, and there was an article in Time magazine. I don't know if any of you know or even remember Time magazine. I think it still exists today, but it was a really, really big magazine, and every year they issue the Time Person of the Year. It's a big thing. But back in October 2005, the cover article of Time magazine was headed up "The Battle for Gay Teens." And there was a byline at the bottom of the page that said, and I'll read it to you, "They are coming out earlier to a more accepting society." So how did they end up on the front lines of America's culture wars? And, you know, when they talk about the heading the battle for gay teens, gay then was a generic term covering everybody under the gender and sexuality spectrum. And even back then, LGBTIQ plus youth were fodder in this war of ideologies that was going on, this battle between the left and the right. And it was a multi-page article about, on one hand, all of these large American companies that were emerging to really understand the importance of diverse workforces, and diversity and inclusion was becoming part of their corporate philosophies. And at the other end of this spectrum were religions who were trying to en masse convert people in these conversion camps and all this sort of stuff. It was a pretty horrific thing. But in the article was the aha moment for me, and that aha moment was reading about an organisation called the Point Foundation. And the Point Foundation did exactly what Pinnacle did, but just 10 years earlier. And I'm just so sorry I didn't think of the idea myself. But I read this and I thought, wow, what an extraordinary organisation. And I thought, wouldn't it be amazing if something like that existed in Australia? And I didn't even know if it did exist in Australia. So I was in America when I actually saw this magazine. So I came back to Australia, got Susan and Paul and a gang of others together in a little task force to ask the question, do we need something like this, the Point Foundation as it was in America, in Australia? And the resounding answer was, of course we did. There were so many young LGBTIQ plus people falling between the cracks, not achieving their dreams because of their circumstances, where they couldn't get an education, they couldn't get access to finance, they couldn't get out of their circumstances that were so constricting. And all of this potential was being stifled and lost. And so it was a no-brainer. We absolutely had a need in Australia. And then we set about setting up the Pinnacle Foundation as a result of that thinking. And that was due in part to a lot of hard work by many volunteers at the time. It took about 4 or 5 years to get the corporate structure together, because we had to set up a charity and all the business side of things. We had to set up a financial means of transparency. We had to satisfy the charity laws in Australia and all of that kind of stuff. We got some amazing help from companies at the time, and two I want to give a special shout out to. One was a company called Freehills, which is now Freehills, Herbert Smith Freehills is what they are today. They were a law firm who provided all the legal stuff for free, and they did that because there was a gay partner at the time who was right behind us. And the other thing was we had Saatchi & Saatchi provide all of the branding and the marketing stuff. Now, Saatchi & Saatchi, for those that of you don't know them, is one of the world's leading advertising and marketing firms. And so to have one of the biggest global firms do our marketing at the time was truly remarkable. And they did tens of thousands of dollars worth of free consulting to us. And the reason we got them was because there was a lesbian CEO in the organisation who loved what we were going to do. So it proved one of two things. You've got to always ask for help if you need it. And I'd encourage you to do that all through your Pinnacle life. And B, if you get it, be grateful for it, because we're forever in debt to those two people to get us off the ground. So that was the very beginning, and it started with volunteers. For the first 8 years of our organisation, we were run completely by volunteers. And one of the most important things to people who are giving money to an organisation is the value for money that they're getting. And because we're all run by volunteers, all of the money virtually we raised was going into scholarships, and that really helped an awful lot. So in 2010, we issued our first two scholarships, which was a very hasty, rushed thing that we did, but we got there in the end. And the next year we issued, I think, 11, and then the year after that was 19, and the year after that was 27, and the year after that was 35, and so on and so forth, to now where we are issuing 88 scholarships around the country. And it just blows my mind completely that we've got to such a level today. And I take my hat off to the CEOs that followed me, Janine Middleton, who took over from me many years ago, and now to Andrew State. Andrew, both of you have done such a marvellous job in expanding the footprint of Pinnacle and its outreach, and it's just so gratifying to see where we are today. So thank you both. The other thing that is really important to Pinnacle is the mentors. So one of the key aspects of what we provide to scholars is a mentor. And I have to say the most successful part of the scholarship is the mentorship. The mentors are the glue that sticks this whole concept together. They probably create the most transformational influence on any of you. And you will look back in 2 or 3 years' time and say, wow, what an amazing thing to have the influence of the mentor that Pinnacle has given you. And to the mentors who are with us today, a heartfelt thank you for what you will do for your mentees. It's lovely to have you here, and it will be one of the most rewarding things that you will ever do in your life. The other thing that makes a charity like Pinnacle is the donors, and we have been very blessed to get from our community initially enough money to get this thing off the ground. And I remember when Philip and I went to the very first people we asked money for with two friends of ours, John Douglas and Warren Stamborough, who I deliberately give a shout out every time I have this conversation, because if it wasn't for them, none of us would probably be here today. We sat down, in fact, we bumped into them by accident somewhere in a restaurant, and we told them we were setting up the Pinnacle Foundation. They so loved the idea, they said, okay, here's $100,000. So, back then that was the most remarkable thing that our ears could have ears and hearts could have ever heard. And so we had moments like that all through this, where the community has backed this organisation and backed you as individuals, as scholars. There are so many people out there that have given their hard-earned cash so that you can get through this scholarship and be given the opportunities that we all want you to have. So I never want to dilute or dismiss the importance of how important those financial donors are. And if you ever bump into them, grab their hands, hug them, kiss them, fall at their feet, do whatever you can to show your gratitude, because they are so deserving of it. So the other part of this too is that when we started Pinnacle all those years ago, there wasn't much appetite in corporate Australia for gay stuff and lesbian stuff, and even less for trans stuff, as that was virtually unknown back then. But all of a sudden, this notion of diversity and inclusion started to emerge as being a really important part of corporate strategy, and Pinnacle was able to be in the right place at the right time to ride that incredible wave where these organisations started to recognise the importance of diversity and equality and inclusion in their workforces. And so we managed to jump on that wave, and we picked up some incredible corporate partners along the way, all of whom have contributed financially and in many other ways to the success of Pinnacle and granting scholarships to you as well. And look, they're all on our website, but it's the Commonwealth Bank, it's BHP, it's Rio Tinto, Kingwood Mallison, Accenture, Deloitte, Domino's. If you love pizzas, there's just a million of them, and all of them have thought this is a really important cause. So again, if you ever find yourself looking for a job, just see if you can get one at one of our corporate sponsors. They're all fabulous. And so why is Pinnacle so important? Well, I guess the happiest day of my life will be when we don't need to have Pinnacle. When being different, it means not being marginalised or having to fight for basic human rights. But sadly, today, the way the world is going with, hard right religious influence on politics, that day is a long way off, I'm really sorry to say. But, we're all making strides. We all have a part to play in creating a better world. And as Pinnacle scholars, you've been recognised as individuals that can make a difference and that will make a difference to the very best of your ability. And you too can be an proud ambassador of the Pinnacle Foundation. So if there's one thing I can ask you to do is wherever you go, wherever you find yourselves, let the world know you're a Pinnacle scholar, because that's really something to be proud of. And equally too, if someone else like you hears about the Pinnacle Foundation, they too will get the benefits of a Pinnacle scholarship. But when it all boils down, Pinnacle exists for really one reason, and that reason is to help all of our scholars to shine. We're here to help equalise a very unequal world, and we're here to help you climb your own pinnacles. We want to see you all get to the very top of your own mountains, and we want to make sure that we're there to support you, and no mountain's ever going to be too big with the Pinnacle Foundation behind you. So in closing, I just really have one other thing to say, and that is to ask something of our Pinnacle scholars, and that ask is simply to please, please, please make the most of these next few days. You will never, ever find yourself in a safer, more nurturing environment, and I would venture to say that there are more arms around you today and tomorrow than you've ever had in your lives. You are now part of the Pinnacle family, and I hope that you can embrace us as we embrace you. You will make lifelong friends. You will learn and grow from your mentor. You will be introduced to amazing, truly amazing people who will help you in life and career. And you will see role models whose success will just inspire you. So please enjoy the next couple of days. Grab every opportunity that you can that comes from your new life as a Pinnacle scholar, and all go well. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Sean, and thank you so much to you and the remaining founding patrons and everybody that was involved for such wonderful, dedicated and hard work to getting the Pinnacle Foundation to where it is now. Next, I am going to hand over to Andrew State, who is our CEO, who will welcome you all to the Pinnacle family. Thank you so much.
Fantastic. Thank you, Paula, and thank you, Sean. And welcome to everyone. As Paula said, I'm Andrew State. My pronouns are he and him, and I'm the CEO and Managing Director of the Pinnacle Foundation. And I join you today from the lands of the Dja Dja Wurrung people, which are in Victoria. I'm up near Trentham at the moment, and I pay my respects to elders past and present and extend that respect to all First Nations people with us here today. Congratulations to all of our incoming scholars. I have been so looking forward to this day. As Sean said, it is definitely a highlight having the opportunity to begin the journey together. welcome into the Pinnacle family. And I would also like to welcome all of the mentors who are joining us today. Thank you for the contribution that you have agreed to make to support incredible young people in our community as they begin their Pinnacle journeys. As Sean mentioned, this is the highest number of scholars we have ever had. We actually have a total of 86 scholars this year, of which 35 are joining us today and are joining us for their first year. And we have 51 scholars who will be returning this year. So they're obviously on multiple year scholarships and will be joining us again. So we have an incredible cohort coming in today. And I just am so excited that we're all together today. I'd also like to introduce some of the key members of the leadership team from Pinnacle who you will meet now and progressively across the course of the weekend. So you've all obviously met Paula, and hopefully you've all met Laura as well. So Paula is our program manager who is responsible for the whole selection process to identify and bring in everybody into the Pinnacle family, and Laura, our scholar and mentor manager. You'll also meet here Tim Lai. Do you want to give a wave, Tim? Tim is our marketing manager, and you'll certainly meet Tim over the course of your scholarships as well. And you'll hear from Tim tomorrow. Also welcome Sophie. Sophie, do you want to give a wave as well? Sophie will become a very important person for all of our incoming scholars because Sophie is the person that will arrange for you to receive your scholarship funds. Sophie is our financial accountant, and you'll be hearing from Sophie tomorrow. Who you won't be, I don't think is on the call today because she's on holidays in Bali at the moment, is Ola Radka, who is our partnerships and events manager. So if you don't get to meet Ola today, you'll certainly get to meet her at some point over the coming years. And I would also like to say a huge thank you to all of the people who will be presenting at the sessions over the next 2 days. There are a huge number of our current scholars, current mentors, volunteers, patrons, partners who will be sharing insights and wisdom over the next 2 days. And I just wanted to say a huge thank you to everyone who is making time to join these important sessions. Perhaps now, though, and it's obviously very difficult on a call with quite so many people, but I want to share a little bit about my journey. And why I do that is hopefully to help you understand a little bit more about me and what drives me, but also why the Pinnacle Foundation's purpose means so much to me, and hopefully help you to understand that. So I grew up in an outer suburb of Melbourne in the 1970s and 1980s. I know most of our scholars, well, all of our scholars won't have even been born when I was growing up, which is a very an incredibly challenging thought. But school for me was never particularly easy. I went to the local state school and it wasn't a particularly great school. And all the way through school, I was called a poofter and a faggot, and I was teased and bullied and bashed at times for being gay. And it was sort of really weird because I think other people at school seemed to know I was gay before I think I even knew what that concept was at the time. And so school for me was never easy. And I tried to hide what was happening at school from my parents because I was just incredibly ashamed of who I was. And I was very scared that if my parents found out that I was gay, that they might have thrown me out of home. And it wasn't a very easy time for me at all. And the one thing I was lucky for was my parents were incredibly encouraging of me to continue studying because they always reinforced the importance of getting an education. And I studied and worked very hard at school and just put all of my energy into studying and to try and escape from what was happening to me while I was at school. And I managed to successfully complete school and was admitted to go to Melbourne University. I got into law and arts, and I started university in 1987. And I should just say my parents had migrated from England when I was a child, so no one in my family had studied law. My family had very limited networks in Australia. So I sort of found my way at university. And when I got there, I was sort of shocked to find that in my course year of 180 students studying law, less than 10% had come from state schools like me. In fact, over 10% of the entire course year came from one prestigious private school. And to me, there just seemed to be something incredibly wrong about how this had all worked out, because, surely it can't have been the case that law was something that, just miraculously 90% of the students who studied all came from private schools could get into. So from an early age, I sort of thought it's not fair that people seem to miss out on access to the opportunity to get an education. And when I think of when I went to university as well, it was in the context there were almost no role models, gay role models or LGBTIQ plus role models that I could look up to or relate to. So school for me hadn't been easy. At that time as well, the threat of HIV and AIDS loomed very large. So it was a very interesting time and a challenging time. But in my early 20s, I was incredibly fortunate. I had a part-time job working at the Art Centre in Melbourne as an usher. And through that, I randomly met a man who became my mentor. And later, probably one of my closest friends, a man called Paul Clarkson, who was someone who had had an incredibly successful career in business and then in public service, and who knew the right questions to ask and shared his insights with me and his wisdom and provided me with encouragement. And over many years, he went from being my mentor to being my friend and a dear friend. And Paul died about 5 years ago. But when I reflect on his life and the impact that he had on my life, it was incredibly profound. And I am incredibly to this day grateful for the support that he gave me. And he didn't understand necessarily all of the things that I was going through or all of the, work experiences or educational experiences I was facing, but he knew how to ask questions and get me to think through things and provided that confidence to me. So I just fast forward a little bit. I finished uni. I worked in a law firm, which I absolutely hated, I'm ashamed to say. And then I worked in the arts, and then I worked in executive search, and then I founded a search firm. And, so from a professional context, life was pretty good. And then I sort of stepped back from that and became involved. I joined the board of the Pinnacle Foundation in 2016, and as Sean said, became the CEO in 2019. I have a wonderful partner, Mark, and we got married in 2019, and hopefully lots of you will get to meet Mark over the next number of years. And we live together, as I mentioned earlier, just outside of Trentham in Victoria. And we live with our little cavoodle, Raph, who probably will make an appearance at some point over the next 2 days. Rafaela is just the most gorgeous thing, and we're very, very blessed to have her. So I shared the story to hopefully just explain a bit of the why for me, but also 3 things stood out for me from the journey that I've had, and they are the support and encouragement to gain an education. I was lucky that my parents reinforced that, and I'm very conscious that many of the people on this call may not even have had that opportunity with that encouragement to continue your education. Access to the wisdom of a mentor. I found a mentor sort of very randomly and through happenstance that was profoundly changing of my life, and hopefully, and something I'm eternally grateful for. And the importance of visible LGBTIQ plus role models, people to look up to, people to learn from, people to be inspired by, and indeed who I'm sure you will inspire yourselves. And it is exactly all of these things that the Pinnacle Foundation aims to deliver. So enough about me. Now a little bit more about how the Pinnacle Foundation works and why I think it's really important to share this is in the past, we had lots of questions and people didn't really understand how all of the pieces fitted together. So I'm just going to ask Paula, if you wouldn't mind putting up the slide with the scholars and the alumni in the middle, the blobs and the little dots all around, just to explain something. So what you're seeing here is the Pinnacle Foundation, and it is all centered around our scholars and then all of the scholars who have graduated and are now doing incredible things in all different fields across the country, our alumni. And then you'll see circling out from that all of the people who are involved to support you on your journey. So we have our mentors, we have in every state in the ACT a committee of volunteers who get involved in supporting all of the activities that we do. Our founders and our patrons, you've heard from Sean today, but we have just an incredible array and we're blessed to have such wonderful, passionate people supporting us. Our ambassadors who use their voices to raise awareness of the Pinnacle Foundation and our program. Our board who oversee the risk, governance and strategy of the foundation. Our corporate and our philanthropic partners, our who provide the funds to support us, our leadership team who many of whom volunteer their time to support the work of the foundation, and then our individual donors, the people right across the country who give money, be it one-off or every month or every week or every fortnight to help support the Pinnacle program. And together, this is the Pinnacle family. So we welcome you into the Pinnacle family and we want to do anything we can to make your journey as successful and fulfilling and as happy as we can. And hopefully on that journey, you'll have lots of fun and meet lots of incredible people. Now, it's really important to note that the Pinnacle Foundation isn't government funded. So we don't receive any sort of recurrent funding from government to award scholarships. So all of our funds come from our corporate partners, our philanthropic partners, and from our individual donors. So needless to say, a lot of us spend a lot of our time fundraising. In fact, that's probably what I spend about 80% of my time doing. And Ola, who you'll get to meet, spends all of her time doing as well, is trying to secure more funds, because the more funds that we can raise, the more scholars we can support, the more scholarships we can award, and the Pinnacle family can continue to grow. So I wanted to also talk about why our donors and our partners support us, because I think that's also important to understand. Many of our donors are inspired by seeing young people in our community realise their full potential. There is no doubt that that intrinsic reward is watching someone who has incredible potential, being able to realise that is just so uplifting and you know, deeply heartfelt. Also, many of our donors have probably had experiences that they wouldn't want other young people to face as they go on their journeys. And sadly, that still happens to this day. Indeed, I was reflecting on my own journey, and one of our Pinnacle alumnus was sharing his story, and he's only 24 or 25 now, but sadly it was a journey very similar to the one that I had in the 1970s and 80s. So that perception of things getting better for young people in our community may be true for some, but we are very conscious still, for so many people, it is still a very challenging path that we tread as we move forward. And certainly my journey, I don't say is, you know, anywhere near as profound as that many others in our community face. So that they are some of the reasons that our donor support us, but added to that, for our corporate and philanthropic partners, many of them support us because they want to also raise awareness within their organisations and the communities that they support of the importance of greater inclusion, of greater diversity, of that sense of everyone being able to belong in workplaces and communities. And so many of our corporate partners support us because they believe that will also help them to reinforce that messaging within their communities. And because of all of this, and because we don't receive any funds from government at times, and only where it's safe for you to do so, we may ask some of you to share parts of your journey with different groups, and it will only ever be where you're comfortable to do it and where we want to make sure that you're safe and supported to share that journey. And we know that when people do hear these stories, it causes them to reflect on their own behaviours and potentially on their own prejudices and their own biases. And it's incredibly powerful to have people look past labels and just see that we are just all incredible people who just want to be able to contribute to society and give back ourselves. So sometimes we will ask some of you to share your stories. And to help our donors and our partners who are funding all of the scholarships we award to feel involved in the partnerships and to understand the impact that they're having, in the first half of every year that you're a scholar, we will ask you to film a short 2-minute video selfie on your phones. We'll give you lots of information on how to do that to make it look really compelling. And we get those, everyone to prepare those 2-minute selfies, and we share them with our partners and donors who have funded your scholarships. And the feedback is just incredible because it helps our donors and our partners to see and feel involved in the impact they're having on you being able to realise your full potential. And then in the second half of the year, no more videos in the second half of the year, but we will ask you to complete an online survey to share some of the achievements that you've had during the year and messages of thanks to our partners and donors funding your scholarships. And similarly for our mentors, we invite you to complete a short survey as well. And sometimes there'll be some commentary that we can draw from that as well to share with our partners and our donors so that they can feel that they are on the journey with us to empowering you to do all the incredible things that you want to do in all of the wonderful fields that you're studying. And before I close, there are a couple of other things I would like to do. Paula, if we can go to the next slide, please. The model that we use and which I've sort of talked through is really, we term it our theory of change. And you'll see in this model, and it's available in full on our website on the Learn page under our policies and governance, is a full, about a 10-page theory of change document. But you may want to have a read through just this triangle while it's up on the screen, because this really summarises the why we do what we do. And hopefully when everyone understands that, it sort of contextualises why at times we'll ask you to do things and why it's important. So do you want to give a thumbs up if you've had a chance to read through that, just so I can tell we can move forward? Amazing. Okay, I think now the last thing I would like to do is to walk through one other document, which is pretty important because it's really, it talks about our values and the expectations that we have. And obviously, all of the scholarships we award are multi-year, and so we'll support you throughout the course of your chosen studies. But there are some expectations that we have and some values that we embrace. So Paula, would you like to move to the contract of excellence? So our Pinnacle Foundation values, to embrace learning, a sense of belonging, and a will to transform. So, you know, I'll let everyone read those in full, but this is what we're really, really passionately about. And if we now move to the second part of the Scholar Contract of Excellence, And I might ask if a couple of people would like to read some things out for us here. So it's probably a bit scary, but we might just give it a crack. So Ben, did you want to come off mute, perhaps? Ben Naraji.
Hi.
Hello, Ben. You're the brave person that I've nominated to. Would you like to read through the first of the pieces on the Contract of Excellence, please?
Sure, no worries. I will strive for academic excellence and maintain a satisfactory level of full-time academic achievement, reviewed biannually.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Oh.
Alicia, would you like to read the next one?
Hello, yeah, sure.
Hello.
Hi. I will maintain a meaningful mentor-scholar relationship, adhering to the undertakings contained in the Mentor Handbook.
Fantastic. And Caden?
Hello.
Hello.
Okay, so I will share any significant life changes, areas of concern, and academic issues that may impact upon my financial or academic position, openly communicating and always asking for permission first rather than forgiveness later.
Fantastic. And Connor?
Hi, so I will respond promptly to all Pinnacle communication and requests.
Fantastic. Danelli?
Yep, I will create a short video before mid-year to update and thank the funders of my scholarship.
Fantastic. And Jared?
I will complete an annual reflective survey and mid-end of year reviews.
Fantastic. Thank you. And Katerina? Katerina, hello? Not getting you. Maybe we'll try Jay.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, great.
All right, wonderful. Is it respond promptly to all Pinnacle communication and requests?
A little bit further down, I think.
The next one, sorry. Create a short selfie video annually before mid-year to update and thank the funders of my scholarship.
Okay, Nicoletta, thank you. Nicoletta?
Hear me?
Now we can, yes.
Awesome. So the next one is complete 10 hours of community service per annum to the satisfaction of my mentor, which may include volunteering with on-campus LGBTQ+ groups.
Fantastic, thank you. Shane?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
I will be actively involved in the Pinnacle family and constructively engage with my local Pinnacle state or territory committee.
Fantastic. And Theo?
Yeah, I will always protect the Pinnacle Foundation's reputation and standing, treating all others equally and with respect despite differences.
Lovely, thank you. And Xavier?
I will spend my scholarship funds strictly in accordance with the Scholar debit card conditions of use, maintaining receipts for all expenditure.
Fantastic. Thank you. And I'm sorry to labour that. And I want to say a huge thank you for everyone who so bravely spoke on the call this morning. But this is really important. These are the things that we really want you to make sure we all understand. There'll be a session tomorrow because on what you can spend your funds on and how all of that works with Sophie, because there's lots of questions that happen around that each year. So there'll be a full session on that for our scholars tomorrow. I also wanted to touch on the fact that across the course of the year, there'll be lots of different events that you'll all be invited to in your locations. Some of those events are arranged by our local volunteer state and territory committees. Other events are involved in conjunction with our corporate partners and our donors. And the first of those events will be our Scholar Welcome and Mentor Welcome events. And they happen across the country in every location. And in 4 states, invitations for those events have already been sent. So that's in New South Wales, Victoria, Queensland and Western Australia. And in South Australia, the ACT and Tasmania, they'll be sent over the coming weeks. So if you're a mentor or a scholar in New South Wales, Victoria, Queensland or Western Australia, you should have now received an emailed invitation to the Scholar and Mentor Welcome event, which in Melbourne is on the 21st of March. In Brisbane will be held on the 23rd of March, in Perth on the 23rd of March, and in Sydney on the 29th of March. And as I said, in the other states, those invitations will be coming shortly. If anyone in any of those 4 locations haven't yet received an invitation, if you could email Laura and just let her know you've not received it, we'll follow that up straight away. We just want to make sure that the invitations have come in. They were sent on the 24th of January and may have gone to your junk mail. So maybe before you email Laura, just double check in your junk mail. But if it's not there, please email through, because these are a great opportunity for you to be able to meet with all of the existing mentors, all of the existing scholars, the volunteers in your location, and our donors and our corporate partners all coming together as the Pinnacle family in your location. And it's really a celebration of you, and this is the reason why we're hosting these events. Lastly, in closing from me, huge congratulations on everyone who has been awarded a scholarship, and thank you again to everybody who is contributing their time as a mentor. The Pinnacle family is just the most wonderful group of people, and I hope you have as much joy and experience, things that you didn't expect as a result of your journey with the Pinnacle Foundation. So warmly, my welcome. Thank you for joining us today. And I think, Paula, we now have a very short tea break. Is that correct?
We do, but
Lovely.
before we go, I noticed that Niana and Joseph have their hands up.
Ah.
So I'm not sure. Did you both have
Sorry
a
about
question?
that. When Andrew said to do a thumbs up, I thought that was how to do it, and I didn't realize that you then have to click it again to get it to turn off. So sorry about that.
All good, all good. Okay.